Good morning, everybody. We are back for another Bible reading. Thank you for joining me. If you're joining one of these videos for the first time, here's what we do. We go through different stories of the Bible for people who have either never read the Bible, forgot the stories, only know bits and pieces of them, are not sure about them, whatever. We believe that everybody has the right to know what it says in this book, cover to cover. That's your right. These pages are not just written for special people. They are for everybody, and you have a right. That is your right to know what it says in here. So, for that reason, we go through different stories so you know what it says. If you are watching this on YouTube, thank you. We go live on Facebook, and then we upload to YouTube later, so make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Well, we've been kind of bouncing around and picking out different stories, different parts of stories, and I'm going to read one today that was one of the very first stories that I read when I first began doing this over a year and a half ago. And I realized that in that time, there have been more people who have started watching these videos. And also, there may have been some things that you have forgotten. This particular story is one that is kind of what I call a gateway story, if you will. This story is so important in Jewish tradition. It is so important that it is referred to many times over in sermons, in when people are facing difficult times. Jesus even refers to this. It is referred to in the New Testament. This story gives us hope for our future. And it comes out of Exodus chapter 14. This is the story of when the Hebrew children have been released from Egypt, and now they are being taken into the wilderness by God. Moses has, the Egyptians have gone through all of these different plagues. You know, there was locusts, there were lice, there was all sorts of these different plagues that happened in the land. And finally, after the plague of death that happened, after that, Pharaoh finally says, fine, you guys get out of here, go. And remember, Moses has said, let my people go, let my people go. God told him to go get his people. Now, Moses is leading them out into the wilderness. And we are actually going to start in chapter 13 and read the last little bit of 13 because it's important to understand why they were led this particular direction, okay? When Pharaoh let the people go, God did not lead them along the road to the land of the Philistines, even though it was nearby. For God said, the people will change their minds and return to Egypt if they face war. So he led the people around toward the Red Sea along the road of the wilderness, and the Israelites left the land of Egypt in battle formation. Moses took the bones of Joseph with him because Joseph had made the Israelites swear a solemn oath, saying, God will certainly come to your aid. Then you must take my bones with you from this place. They set out from Succoth and camped at Etham on the edge of the wilderness. The Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to lead them on their way during the day, and in a pillar of fire to give them light at night so that they could travel day or night. The pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night never left its place in front of the people. I'm going to stop there, and then we'll go on to 14. Remember, there are three ways that we look at these scriptures when we read them. One, what does it say? You have to have reading comprehension. You have to read the words on the pages, or you don't know what it says. Next, what was it saying to the people of the time, the history, the context? We can't just read one little passage and think we know the whole thing. We have to take it all into context. And last but not least, what, if anything, is it saying to us today? So we're going to stop right there. Notice something. God could have taken them a shorter route, a different route, but he knew that that route was going to be much more difficult for them. And so he took them a different way where he was going to be able to really kind of give them a break where they could just not have to go to war, and he could take care of them. They wouldn't turn back. He made a way for them to not turn back. Really important. And another thing that we see here is that there was a pillar of cloud that went in front of them, not behind them. You know, if you're looking at a map, you have to see it in front of you in order to go forward. He sent a pillar of cloud in front of them by day so that they could follow it. They would know the way. That was their navigational system. And a pillar of fire at night in case they had to travel at night. That was their headlights, okay? So God never relents in that. He does that for them throughout the entire time that he is leading them. We're going to go on to chapter 14. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites to turn back and camp in front of Pi-hahiroth," I cannot pronounce that word, "between Migdol and the sea. You must camp in front of Baal-zephon, facing it by the sea. Pharaoh will say to the Israelites, 'They are wandering around the land in confusion. The wilderness has boxed them in.' I will harden Pharaoh's heart so that he will pursue them. Then I will receive glory by means of Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." So the Israelites did this. Okay, God knew ahead of time, and he set it up for a specific reason, that they were going to be pursued by Pharaoh's army. He knew that. God knew that. And he let it happen so that he, God, would be given the glory by his very own enemy, Pharaoh. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds about the people and said, "What have we done? We have released Israel from serving us." So he got his chariot ready and took his troops with him. He took 600 of the best chariots and all the rest of the chariots of Egypt, with officers in each one. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued the Israelites who were going out defiantly. Now, God said he was going to do this, that he was going to allow this to happen, that he was going to allow them to be pursued by seemingly trouble. What seemed like trouble was going to be coming after them. God knew this. He knew it was going to happen. He set it up. He also said, "I'm going to let this happen for my glory." For my glory. So remember, we talk about this a lot. When God says he's going to do something, he does it. He does what he says, and he means what he says. He doesn't back down from that. He always does what he says he's going to do. The Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, his horsemen and his army, chased after them and caught up with them as they camped by the sea beside Pi-hahiroth. That's a hard word to say. In front of Baal-zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians coming after them. The Israelites were terrified and cried out to the Lord for help. They said to Moses, "Is it because there are no graves in Egypt that you have taken us away to die in the wilderness? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Isn't this what we told you in Egypt? Leave us alone so that we may serve the Egyptians. It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness." Let's stop there for just a moment. They're complaining now. Now, I don't know if Moses did not relay the message to them. God said, hey, the Egyptians are going to chase after us, but it's going to be all right. He's going to use it for his glory. Or what? But here they are, terrified out of their minds. They have yet to come into trusting God, even though they saw what God had done with all of the plagues. Now, I'm not going to go into all the plagues. You can go back and read that for yourself. But even though they had seen the God working these miracles, they were still terrified. They could not see a way out. They're backed up against the sea. But Moses said to the people, "Don't be afraid. Stand firm and see the Lord's salvation, that he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You must be quiet." The Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to break camp. As for you, lift up your staff, stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. As for me, I am going to harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them, and I will receive glory by means of Pharaoh, all his army and his chariots and horsemen." So again, God is reiterating what he's already told Moses. He's already said, look, I'm going to harden their hearts and I'm going to receive glory because I'm going to defeat them. So you don't need to worry about that. You worry about parting the sea. I'm going to worry about taking care of this army. God made it clear what everybody's role in the situation was. Then the angel of God, who was going in front of Israel, the Israelite forces, moved and went behind them. The pillar of cloud moved from in front of them and stood behind them. Okay, so now this pillar of cloud is in front of them, guiding them, leading the way. Now it goes behind them to protect them. God is a God that goes before us, he goes behind us, and he comes alongside of us. It came between the Egyptian and Israelite forces. There was cloud and darkness. It lit up the night, and neither group came near the other all night long. So this gave the Israelites time to break up their camp, take down their tents, do all of the things they needed to do to get out of there, because the Egyptians couldn't see them. This pillar was so thick that they couldn't see through it to see the Israelites. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. The Lord drove back the sea with a powerful east wind all that night and turned the sea into dry land so that the waters were divided. And the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with the waters like a wall to them on their right and on their left. All right, we'll stop there for just a moment. This wind came through. Moses took his staff, points it at the sea. This wind, this east wind comes through, pushes the water up, makes a wall on either side of them, and they are able to walk across the sea. Now, I've actually seen the Red Sea. They were able to walk across it on dry ground, not muddy ground, not rocky ground, it doesn't say. It says dry ground. After a rainstorm, when the water sort of soaks into the dirt and sand and grass, the ground is still a little mushy. This says dry ground, not wet ground. The Egyptians set out in pursuit, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen, and went into the sea after them. They're like, well, those guys are walking on ocean bottom, water bottom. We can too. And so they start driving their chariots in to chase them. During the morning watch, the Lord looked down at the Egyptian forces from the pillar of fire and cloud and threw the Egyptian forces into confusion. He caused their chariot wheels to swerve and made them drive with difficulty. Some translations say that their wheels came off. Now, I'm reading out of the ESV, and this one says just that they swerved, they were having trouble driving. You know that says to me, have you ever tried to drive your car through mud? So the Israelites had dry ground. I'm not so sure that the Egyptians did. I think they were driving through some pretty murky dirt there. Because the Lord is fighting for them. Let's get away from Israel, the Egyptians said, because the Lord is fighting for them against Egypt. So in that moment, when the wheels are coming off and the wheels are spinning, that old song, the wheels on the bus go up and down, round and round. I guess it's round and round. Nope, we're going side to side, back and forth. They couldn't steer. The wheels are coming off. In that moment, when things went south, they said, uh-oh, we ain't winning. Their God is fighting for them. Their God is fighting for them. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea so that the water may come back on the Egyptians, on their chariots and horsemen." So Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and at daybreak the sea returned to its normal depth. While the Egyptians were trying to escape from it, the Lord threw them into the sea. The water came back and covered the chariots and horsemen, plus the entire army of Pharaoh that had gone after them into the sea. Not even one of them survived. But the Israelites had walked through the sea on dry ground, with the waters like a wall to them on their right and their left. That day the Lord saved Israel from the power of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. When Israel saw the great power that the Lord used against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and believed in him and in his servant Moses. Well, remember our 3 ways that we look at things. What does it say? We just read it. What was it saying to the people of the time? We kind of broke some things down and looked at that. What, if anything, is it saying to us today? You may have a different takeaway on this. I don't know. That's between you and God. You can certainly ask God, Lord, what are you teaching us through this? What are you saying to me through this passage? I know that we live in some very difficult times right now. The whole world is in chaos. It's been thrown into chaos. Very much, I think, like the Egyptian forces coming after the Israelite children. Everything's in chaos right now. There's a lot of ungodly stuff happening all across the world. And those of us who are attempting to follow God, who want to do things the way God wants, and these Israelite children really did, they wanted to do things God's way, may be feeling backed up against the seashore, and we may be feeling afraid and scared. But I promise you that our God is a God who does not change. He is consistent. He can be trusted. He is Lord of all, and he is in control. And he sees that you may be feeling backed up and afraid of what's going to happen next because of all the chaos around you. But I promise you, he doesn't allow anything to happen that is not for his glory. Our job is to follow him where he leads us, even if that's into a sea with water walls on the side of us that seem frightening, that we're not sure are even going to stay up, that might come in over us. But he is the God who will go before us, go behind us, and walk beside us. We have nothing to be afraid of. Everything going on in this world is happening because God has ordained it. He has chosen it to happen. He has allowed it to happen. Not because he doesn't love us, not because he wants us to live in fear and terror, or because he has bad things planned for us, or not even because he's angry at us. He loves us. But because he has good plans. One of the cool things I think out of this story is after that, after all the plagues that they went through, after the fear of the Red Sea, after all of that, you know what? They never saw the Egyptians again. He said, the Egyptians that you see today, you will see no more. They didn't see him again. Hard times come to an end. This too shall pass. Sometimes like a kidney stone, but it will pass. I don't know what you got out of this. I hope you learned something. I hope you got something out of this. I look forward to us going through the next story next time we're together. I would recommend that you look at the previous chapters in Exodus to find out why this was so significant and why it remains such a significant part of their history and is still significant today. Well, you have a wonderful day. I look forward to us being together next time. Meantime, God bless you.